Hi, this is Matthew with Everybody Community. Please support our project coming up in October by subscribing or by liking the video or subscribing on our Buy Me a Coffee site, which is this one right here. You go here and then you can click to get to the Buy Me a Coffee site. So, and there's free options too. But we also approve, we also appreciate any support you have. We approve of that. Anyway, I just wanted to make a point about, excuse me, people that are in South Africa. Why do you think South Africa is so sensitive to what's going on in Palestine, the mass murder, the genocide there? Also, the Irish. You see the Irish standing up in their Congress or whatever they call it there. And the Irish are also very sensitive to what's going on in Palestine, the mass murder, the genocide, the attacks on innocent people, 30,000 slaughtered so far, with the, those homicidal maniacs still saying, hey, we're going to keep going. They're going to keep going. Of course, they haven't reached a single goal yet. So why do they feel so sensitive? Why are they so compassionate about these people? This is a major thing to understand. It's a very, very important thing to understand. We see a lot of privileged people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, who were born with parents who are upper class, upper middle class, who were given the keys to a private schools, and who were just coddled and had everything they never spent a day hungry, never spent a day desperate, not knowing how they're going to pay their bills, never spent a day in their lives. And when they became old enough, they either went to college and had that covered or easily paid for by some stupid side job plus the help of their parents. Privileged people. Once they graduate, there's a network. There's people that are either going to give them a job or a network of friends of the family that are going to help them find a job. This is the privileged people. These are people who don't know what it's like to be hungry, to spend a day hungry. I haven't had a horrible life, but I know what it's like to spend 10, 15 days with no food and no clean water to drink. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be by yourself, to live in your car or have no car to live in. So because I've been through those things, and I'm not a lazy person, and I'm not a criminal, and I'm not an alcoholic or a drug addict. I don't have any of those addictions. But I was unfortunate in some situations. And I had a family that pretty much abandoned me. I've got 5 brothers and sisters. 4 of them left now. They don't communicate with me. So I've been pretty much on my own since the age of 16. I lived with my brother, and then a little bit older, I lived with a friend. I was responsible to pay rent, responsible to pay my own phone bill, things like that. So I know what it's like to not be supported by friends and family. And that gives me a little bit of insight. But imagine the people that are living in the desert, living in a place that is not developed at all, which is a huge part of India. A lot of slums there, a lot of ghettos, a lot of very low quality of life places to live. Sub-Saharan Africa is also a huge area where people are really suffering. But the privileged don't know about that. Why? Because they've never been through it. They're not bad people. They're not evil people. They're just not compassionate. They're not sensitive. They're not experienced. They're ignorant about what it's like to be struggling because they never have. And they'll make jokes, or sometimes they're even crazy enough to be serious and say, hey, get a job. If we have universal income guaranteed, everybody, I heard Joe Rogan say the other day, he's just afraid everybody's going to be too lazy or something. That's ridiculous. When you provide nurturing for people, and it could be in the form of cash, when you provide for people in an accountable environment, in an environment where they're getting nurturing, in an environment where they're accountable, people thrive. That's how we raise children. We give them a roof over their heads. We take care of their medical needs. We give them food to eat every day. They don't have to work for it. They don't have to work for it. They're busy growing and learning how to be a person that can be independent someday. Do we think those children, once they turn 5 years old, they should be out on their own? Or if they're not earning money, are they lazy? No, it's not about laziness. This thing about laziness is a big lie. And people who have no clue, the ignorant masses that have privileged lives, they've got no clue about what it's like to not have that network, to not have those parents that create a harmonious home, that create a roof over your head, that create food in the fridge all the time, and you don't go hungry for a day, and you don't worry about paying your bills for a day, even into adulthood, because you've been nurtured, taken care of. Well, there are more than a couple billion people out of the total of 8 billion people on this planet that don't have that. They don't have a good environment. But so many people in developed countries, we can say the UK especially, and the US especially, and a lot of Europe, they have no clue about what it's like. They don't know what it's like. And they don't want to help. A lot of them, they don't want to help hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. They don't want to help because they are lacking in education. Maybe they got a doctorate degree, but they don't know what it's like to be a human being on this planet that does not have the privilege that they've been given. So what? What am I saying? South Africa, they know what it's like to be under apartheid. And that's why they're raising their hand and saying, hey, man, that's totally apartheid in Palestine, in Gaza. It's no question about it. We know what it's like. We lived through it. We have the experience. Back off if you've had a privileged life. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not part of this conversation. Who's part of the conversation of the people who have suffered and been through it? You know what the Irish have gone through with the Brits. They know what it's like to be treated horribly and being called terrorists for trying to defend themselves, for trying to resist the tyranny that was put upon them. If you don't know about that, just look it up. It's horrible. So sometimes we have to have been there to understand what it's like. Sometimes we're lacking compassion just out of ignorance, 99% of the time. Lacking compassion is out of ignorance. This guy who wants to ethnically cleanse everybody out of Gaza has no clue what it's like. This Polish guy, he doesn't know what it's like. So he doesn't care. He's got a very dangerous ideology that says it's okay to mass murder. It's never okay to murder anyone. We need to protect ourselves. We need to hold people accountable. But even any government, any soldier, any cop, it's never justified to murder someone. We need to focus on accountability. We need to focus on safety. And we especially need to focus on compassion. And genocide is not part of compassion. Who knew?